Okay. All right. Oh, my cleavage is showing.
Ooh, what's a cleavage?
Let's read the book.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we're on page 6. You remember what happened yesterday?
He was talking. Again, it is kind of a bit of a confusing book. I don't actually know. What I can tell you is that I think he was just talking about the past and his father in the town called, is it something Springs, I think, something town, and his father was a sheriff, and he was reinforcing the law and how people were.
Okay, his father was actually an attorney.
An attorney.
Right.
And how people were, what's it say?
Well, there was the people, the Haverfords. They were talking about the Haverfords.
The fact that he insisted that
those words. Yeah, so it was talking about the family history. What state are they in?
They are in. Let me think real quick. Alabama.
Alabama. Ding, ding, ding. And they've settled in Alabama. And then we have. Are you giggling?
What?
I said, are you giggling?
Giggling?
Giggling.
I don't know.
Yeah. So they're in Alabama, and we end up where Atticus is talking about, or where the author is talking about Atticus being an attorney in Macomb County. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So here we go. Macomb was an old town, but it was a tired old town. When I first knew it. Macomb was an old town, but it was a tired old town when I first knew it. In rainy weather, the streets turned top red. Wait a minute. No, I've got the reading problem.
Man.
In rainy weather, the streets turned to red slop. Grass grew on the sidewalks. The courthouse sagged in the square. Somehow, it was hotter than a black dog suffering on a summer's day. Bony mules hitched to Hoover carts flicked flies in the sweltering shade of the live oaks on the square. Men's stiff collars wilted by 9 in the morning. Ladies bathed before 12 after their 3 o'clock naps, and by nightfall were like soft tea cakes with frostings of sweat and sweet talcum. People moved slowly then. They ambled across the square, shuffled in and out of the stores. The stores around it took their time about everything. A day was 24 hours long, but seemed longer. There was no hurry, for there was nowhere to go, nothing to buy, and no money to buy it with. Nothing to see outside the boundaries of Macomb County. But it was a time of vague optimism for some of the people. Macomb had recently been told that it had nothing to fear but fear itself. We lived on the main residential street in town, Atticus Gemini, plus Calpurnia, our cook. Gemini found our father satisfactory. He played with us, read to us, and treated us with courteous detachment. Calpurnia was something else again. She was all angles and bones. She was nearsighted. She squinted. Her head was wide as a bed slat, and twice. What are you doing?
I'm trying to add it into the book as in big. Her head was big and thick. She was nearsighted, so she squinted.
Okay. Now you've got me all jacked up over here. She squinted. It's fine. I wasn't sure what you were doing over there. Okay. She squinted. Her hand was wide. Her hand was wide as a bed slat and twice as hard. She was always ordering me out of the kitchen, asking me why I couldn't behave as well as Jim. Okay. She always ordered me out of the kitchen, asking me why I couldn't behave as well as Jim when she knew he was older and calling me home when I wasn't ready to come. Our battles were epic and one-sided. Calpurnia always won, mainly because Atticus always took her side. She had been with us ever since Jim was born, and I had felt her tyrannical presence as long as I could remember. Our mother died when I was 2, so I never felt her absence. She was a Graham from Montgomery. Atticus met her when he was first elected to the state legislature. He was middle-aged then. She was 15 years his junior. Jim was the product of their first year of marriage. 4 years later, I was born, and 2 years later, our mother died from a sudden heart attack. They said it ran in her family. I did not miss her, but I think Jim did. He remembered her clearly, and sometimes in the middle of a game, he would sigh at length, then go off and play by himself behind the car house. When he was like that, I knew better than to bother him. When I was almost 6 and Jim was nearly 10, our summertime boundaries, within calling distance of Calpurnia, were Mr. Henry Lafayette de Beauce's house, 2 doors to the north of us, and the Radley house, 3 doors to the south. We were never tempted to break them. The Radley place was inhabited by an unknown entity, the mere description of whom was known to make us behave for days on end. Mrs. de Beauce was plain hell. That was the summer Dill came to us. Early one morning, as we were beginning our day's play in the backyard, Jim and I heard something next door in Miss Rachel Haverford's collar patch. We went to the wire fence to see if there was a puppy Miss Rachel's rat terrier was expecting. Instead, we found someone sitting, looking at us. Sitting down, he wasn't much higher than the Collards. We stared at him until he spoke. Hey yourself, said Jim pleasantly. I'm Charles Baker Harris, he said. I can read. So what? I said. I just thought you'd like to know I can read. You got anything needs reading? I can do it. How old are you? Asked Jim. 4.5? Going on 7. Shoot, no wonder then, said Jim, jerking his thumb at me. Scout yonder's been reading ever since she was born, and she ain't even started to school yet.